due to circumstances beyond our control, we're not able to attract the number of participants as well as international tourists, as well as Papua New Guinean participants. For reasons that we all know, economic crisis, downturn in the economy. But that aside, successfully we were able to actually bring in quite a number of participants from within the area of more than 20 participants. This forms the core of the festival. It is now truly a people-centered a festival of celebration, having to deal with the current as well as the issues that are confronting our communities, particularly the conservation areas, climate change, the preservation of the river system, and all of our trees and our valleys and the communities around there who live in the banks of the Sepik River and beyond. So it's part of our international awareness raising by bringing people together to act in unison, to act in a way coordinated so that we can export to the world the rich cultures of our people and the way of life, language, history, the story of creation, embedded in our historical narratives. So these are very important activities we are planning. My immediate task in the next 12 months is to build a strong foundation, a society in which we can have confidence. So we're working on the constitution of the society, which we hope to have it finalized by the end of this year, which will set the face for the establishment, the diversification of the activities related to the festival. There are a number of components that constitute the festival. There's the Crocodile Festival, and there is also art festival, which is combined. But we also want to include other aspects of the history, the creation, the movement of people from one group to the other. How was the area, particularly the Koma, Nuguma, and Manabu communities have populated the area in which they are now living. So the celebration is Crocodile Festival is part and parcel of a meaning out of people living in a particular area. It's defined by culture, it's defined by the environment, so it's very critical. So with reference to the festival itself, the communities have different initiation ceremonies. One is in which, and those along the Sepik River do the initiation. They go into fasting, to isolation, they're going through the endurance, and then the actual initiation, the cutting of the skin that everybody knows is in the likeness of crocodile skin. And they spend quite some time in confinement, fasting, and a lot of education takes place in the house tamran. And so from there, the young men are prepared, for anything to do with the endurance, fighting, long journeys, work. So when they leave those environment in confines of, an enclosure, they are then released. And these people prepare themselves. They've actually been fed. The skin is, all shiny and decorated, so they come out of it. So that itself is a huge celebration received by the communities. There's a big feasting. Those who are not involved entirely with the activities within the house tamran are already preparing food and everything. So when they are released, it's a dawn of a new era for these young initiates who have just completed their endurance test. And it's, the pain, the struggle, and the disciplines that are being, given to the initiates. So when they are released, that's when the celebration takes place just within the vicinity of the house tamran. Now they are being pronounced or proclaimed to be the men who know the history, language, who can provide leadership to move on to lead their communities. So that's one aspect of it. The other is to do with the story of creation. And Matthias, who was embedded in the history of the creation of the Komas and Nukumas and those who came before them were the Gala. So the Gala tribe, who proceeded from the Koma and Nukuma, we designate our coming from a hole in Mirsay, and that hole is still there. We believe that our ancestors came out from the ground, from the hole, in a hole that was made forcefully out of the space by a pig. That pig, through his nose, lifted the covering of the hole that we call it the. So out of that, people began to come out and they did the shape, the tails were cut, and the ears were, the noses were all cut, ready now to move. So they moved from that place into the hills of the Koma territory and even beyond to Nuku and to Maprik, Wasaragawi, down all the way to Angoram. That's what we think that the people of the East Sepik along the Sepik River were populated by the versions of the ancestors who came out from the hall at, we call it Wanmai. So this is our story. We're trying to make sure that the next phase of the festival will make sure that we define it in terms of written history, in terms of the video that needs to be done, the recordings, so that it's a full package, that it's not just a one-off activity, you hold them for 3 days a year, but it's a continuation of the reminder that many of us are vulnerable. When the Sepik River is taken away, when it stops flowing, that will almost be the end of life. So we've got to start use the current medium, the festival, as a staging point to raise the awareness on the importance of the river system, the mountains, the rivers, the trees that feed the Sepik system. And so it's more than just a festival. It would be also a platform for campaign to preserve and to promote the environment, the Sepik River itself. And so Crocodile is an embodiment of the Sepik and its vitality that give rise to hundreds of communities along the Sepik River and also beyond. Because Sepik also feeds everyone inland when they buy and promote fish, a lot of fish, tilapia and even the crocodiles. And we want to also make sure that the crocodile species are also preserved. Yeah. So it's not just one of celebration, but it's an entire package of making sure the crocodiles are kept, the fish, and the river system, so that they all work together to harmonize the existence. And so human beings, or those of us who live along the community, are an important part. We are the ones who got to preserve. We've got to make sure that the environment is preserved through these promotional activities like the festival.